We grow them. They get profit sharing. They get equity. We give them more money. We give them more responsibilities, things that they want, titles, so that they could be a part of us. And they feel that they're winning year after year after year. Welcome to the Spinoso Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Spinoso. My expertise and experiences in building all types of medical businesses to 7, 8, and 9 figures. And I'm sharing my journey with you. This is a podcast not telling you you should do this. It's telling you how I did this. And I want to help you build your business, take ownership of your life, and become a better leader at home and at work. And I'd love to connect with you guys. As always, if you're a medical entrepreneur, that's really what I build my stuff for. If you go to dralexspinoso.com, you'll find a ton of stuff to support you guys. I have courses there, 100% free, where you could learn everything that we've done at Genesis to scale and grow and expand our business there. You can go under the vendors page where I show you every single company that we use in Genesis to grow our business, or you could just DM me a question on Instagram at Dr. Alex Spinoso. All right, let's get into it. Guys, as always, Miss Amanda May is here today.
Hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic.
Let's do it.
Phenomenal, fantastic,
today we're going
exceptional.
to talk about leadership transitions, right? And that right there, I'm a terrible leader because as soon as you started talking, I just cut you off. That's the way to be a good leader, guys. Ask how people are doing and then just immediately cut them off and assert your dominance over them. So sorry, I cut you off. What were you saying?
Interruption is great.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Number one.
So you could always
tip
talk
for
about some
today.
of no, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I love it. No, I was going on about how exceptional I was, but not necessary. Phenomenal was good. I could have stopped there.
Fair enough. We're going to talk today about one of the most important decisions a leader can make, and that's how to elevate an employee to being an executive, part of that inner circle in your business. And it's not just about skills, although skills pay the bills. That is 100% true. But you want to also find people with the right character, the right leadership mindset. And so making sure that you're promoting people into leadership positions that belong there and that need to be there and that will push the envelope. And that's kind of how essentially you became a leader in Genesis, is that you started off just bringing your business over. It was kind of a partnership, and then it's grown into this leadership. And I want to get your perspective on how you think you did that. It should be interesting. Here we go.
Well, I mean, initially coming in as a business owner, it was, excuse me, it was definitely a lot alignment from the standpoint of like, you have a business you're growing, I have a business I'm trying to grow. And so when we came together, it was talking to you like a business owner. And I think that makes a big difference when you're elevating somebody into leadership. Or let's talk about how I did it. I think having an owner mentality was foundational in what helped me get to a leadership level within Genesis, because I have owned my own businesses. So I do know what it's like to bootstrap things, or to need to work beyond work hours, or give all that you have. And, it's like I had to know that stuff, and then making decisions like a business owner would make. I think all of that experience that led up to us meeting was really a key component to it. One of the things that I loved that I saw in our first meeting was your core values, and they're a little bit different than they are today. But you handed me a card with core values on it. And I was like, no, this is a company I want to align with. Like, I have personal core values. I have had that for many years. And so having the first time ever in my life working as a partnership with another company that had core values that they lived by, I was like, this is not something I've seen in other companies. And so that was something that stood out to me, and something that I could go, okay, I can align with this. So I think that was another part of it. I had to let go of my thoughts on where I wanted to take my business, which was more just me. And one of the things that I found over the years is, because my business was Amanda May Beauty, and that's what my locations were, I would hire in great potential, teach them what they needed to know, and then a year later when they got really good, they'd leave.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, this is sucks.
Right.
So I'm
Yeah.
constantly having that turnover, and understandable, especially with like social media being a thing now.
Mhm.
And the beauty industry is so much about the before and after. And it's like they could easily get good and start posting on social media. And now they're getting their own clients and they're not relying solely on me to bring them clients. And so, that was always something I struggled with. And so then I did a lot of teaching, which I made a lot of really great money doing that. But even with that, it's like there was so much more with the teaching than just teaching the skill, because they
Mhm.
needed to know how to run a business. And so many of my students, a year later, when I'd follow up, had never done anything with the training that they got. And I'm like, okay, great. I made a bunch of money this year, but you haven't done anything. And I made a bunch of money on people that haven't taken their businesses anywhere. So that doesn't feel good. So there were some things that, as I learned about having my own business, that I saw uh, the scalability of Genesis and really believing in what you and Brent were doing for people and how much that aligned. But again, just kind of going back and circling back to, I had to let go of my dream to have Amanda May Beauty be this massive brand and know that sometimes my leadership or my desire from the business side could be utilized in even a better way coming alongside somebody else who had a big vision. And so not looking at like, competition, but complementing, like, how can I come in and complement what you guys are already doing? And that transition happened slow. It wasn't like all of a sudden I just, okay, now you're an executive.
Right.
I started working within Genesis. I let go of kind of my business stuff. I moved. I took a huge risk moving to Texas and just really feeling like I was supposed to be here with you guys after you transitioned out of Vegas. So I had to let go of a lot. I really had to let go of a lot and
Yeah, you
and
did.
take a leap of faith and believe in the bigger picture and prove myself, not only my character, my integrity, but my core values, like that things were going to align, and that even in the midst of struggle or like hard circumstances within the company, that I was always going to show up and be consistent. And I think that's something when you're building something bigger than yourself, there are going to be people that come along and say a lot, like, I'm going to do this and I can do that. And here's my background and all, and you got to kind of test that out because, you know, if it's true, then there will be longevity to that. So
Yeah.
it's not like in the first couple months you go, okay, yeah, you're right. You can have it all. But years in, you go, okay, this person's been consistent and has continued to show up with, the level of excellence that we want within our company. So the promotions come over time. So how do I think I did it? I think being consistent, having great character, integrity, believing in the vision, and really wanting to see the company successful alongside you guys, and knowing that I can be a boss and, have the entrepreneur spirit,
Mhm.
but still come alongside and complement somebody who's building their own company
Right.
and be a part of it.
No, that's a beautiful fucking answer, and let's unpack this, guys, one by one. Number one, you had the knowledge as an entrepreneur. So if you're in another business and you're working for somebody else, that doesn't mean you have to have historical knowledge of how to be an entrepreneur. But you should go fucking figure it out. You should be reading books about entrepreneurism. You should be seeing how other businesses run. You should be learning as much as you can on YouTube about how maybe your business that you work for, how your company runs, the ins and outs, what are the different parts of it. You should be learning those things so that you are more valuable than just being a front desk person doing nothing. If you want to elevate yourself in the business, learn how the business works. So you had that. You had the entrepreneurship, you understood that there's going to be highs and lows, you understood the business and how a business worked and how a healthcare essentially business worked. So
Mhm.
that's number 1. Learn around your job. Everybody likes to just go 40 hours a week and that's it. And then they say, well, why don't I get a raise? Why can't I get to the next level? Well, it's because you're not essentially reading around your job. And that means studying what it takes to be the manager in your company, what it takes to be the next level COO or the CEO, and you might not ever get there, but it will get you a lot closer because you
Mhm.
might come up with ideas or things that help save the business, I don't know, tens of millions of dollars, or produce a product that might help the business grow, or even just make it more efficient that saves the company money. All those things, a good company is going to reward you for 100%. Number two was sacrifice. Sacrifice, most of the time, if you're really, again, like Amanda was, focused, sacrifice will lead to success.
Mm.
You have to say, okay, how far can I get? And what's the ceiling that I have in my job right now? And for a lot of you guys in the medical field, you're at your fucking ceiling. There's no way that you're moving up. And if you're a nurse, you might move up to charge nurse. If you're a nurse practitioner, you're never going to be a doctor in the company or clinic that you work for. You're never going to be an owner. And if you're a doctor, you're never going to be an owner in a hospital or things like that if you're working for other people. So if you're trying to build yourself up, make sure that there are vertical opportunities in your business. And it's simple to ask your boss, hey, what are some of the vertical opportunities I could have? Can I be a manager? Can I be a leader? Can I be an owner, etc.? And in Genesis, we have all those. And I make sure we put those into all of our businesses where there are opportunities. If you work really hard, you bust your ass to move up on a
Mhm.
consistent basis, to improve your income and to improve your position in the company. So ask those questions. If your company says, well, there isn't really anything we can do, go find a new fucking company,
Mhm.
because that company is not innovating. Company is not growing. Good companies, Brent and I will find a position for somebody, or we'll tell them, hey, if they want to be clinic director and the clinic director at their location's really good, we'll say, hey, we can move you to another clinic, or you can move your whole life and you could we'll build a clinic for you and you can run it here. And along with that comes the next level, which is you do really well, you're going to get equity in that clinic. And so you become a partner, an owner with us, or profit sharing with us, etc. And those are all opportunities that we have in our companies that other people should have. And if you're in a company that doesn't have it, or you run a company that doesn't have that, like you said, you're going to train people up to be really good. And then they're going to realize there's nowhere else to go in terms of ceiling. And they're just going to be like, well, you know what? I'm going to walk out the door. We've kept people because of the Chick-fil-A model. We grow them, they get profit sharing, they get equity, we give them more money, we give them more responsibilities, things that they want, titles, so that they could be a part of us and they feel that they're winning year after year after year. Um the third thing is you took a chance. You took a sacrifice. You took a chance. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's just how it is. And the what if destroys more dreams than fucking anything could. And despite the what ifs of what if it doesn't work out, what if I get out there and it sucks, what if this, what if that, you still made the decision. And that's what you have to do. That's what you have to do to get to the next level. Is you can't think about the what if. And that's in the investing world too. Warren Buffett has a great story that he says, really a learning parable, where he says usually in an entire human's life they have three chances where they have to put like 80% of their net worth into those chances, like only three times their entire lives. And those three times, if you put in the 80%, that's what makes you ultra wealthy.
Mm.
Otherwise, if you were like, I don't know, I'm not sure what if this happens, what if that happens, and they never do it, they always are left with the same thoughts like, oh, well, maybe I should have done that. Maybe I shouldn't have. I played the safe, but they're never at that next level. They're never that next level of entrepreneur. They've never built that next level of business. They've never been a part of something that's next level, period. They just haven't, because they did not jump in and say, you know what, fuck it. Besides all the what ifs, I'm going to make this work. And if it doesn't, okay, we'll figure it out at that point.
Yeah, something else I would add too is, with those three things, the fourth thing would be continual growth, which is a core value of Genesis. And it's like at every stage, I continued to push myself to grow to the next stage. So when I came here, I ended up working in the clinic as a provider. And so it was like I learned how to do injections, and that was not something I had done before. I learned a lot about actually being like a medical provider in the clinic. So that actually helped me learn what's happening in our clinics with our teams. Like, and I think that was so valuable because coming up in leadership, it's like, I know what's happening. I know what the blueprint of our locations is like from multiple levels. And so, like, that was one area of growth. And then, like, last year, as I moved out of the clinic and moved into more of like a marketing kind of support role for you guys, I took the Smart Marketer program. I did 3 months of continual education on email marketing and text message marketing and brand ambassador programs and all of these things to learn the marketing side. So, that's sales, that's money making, that's the bread and butter of what keeps a business growing. And that was something I invested my own time and money into. That wasn't something I was asking for, but it was like, I know this is going to make me more valuable. So I'm going to do this. And so that continual growth at each level to keep pushing to the next level, because where I'm at now, I think it's going to get even bigger. So,
Yeah.
just keep going. And then, like you said, the more value I can create because of what I know, the experience I've had, things I've tried, things I'm learning, and ways I'm pushing myself just makes you even more of an asset to a company.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't let me fucking finish. I was only on
Oh,
bullet 3 and then you just fucking threw in bullet
see,
4.
you told me at the
So,
beginning
that's
the
good.
best way was to interrupt.
Dominance.
Yeah.
Okay, bullet 5, since you fucking stole my bullet 4, but you're absolutely right. On top of what she said was the constant improvement and constant growth is consistency. She was consistent. She showed up all the time. She showed up when she didn't have to. She showed up when she needed to. If I asked her to do something, it was done. She's had multiple hats in the company, from head of beauty to head of sales to head of HR to now, I don't know what we call you. It's like head of I almost wrote head of branding in an email today because it's like you're kind of what you've been now.
Mhm.
And so she's worn all the hats. And for those looking on how to structure your business corporate, wise, Traction is a good book. I've talked about it, Gino Wickman, a couple times, but another great book is called Hats Off to You. It's written by 2 guys, and I can't tell you the names because they're all fucked up, but it's called Hats Off to You. It's got this really old school, blue cover with a bunch of hats on it. But hats are essentially, when you talk about hatting somebody, it's their position in the company. And so when you say, "Oh, I wear multiple different hats," you are in multiple different, or have done multiple different positions in the company. So that's what I mean with Amanda, where she's worn all the hats. She's gone from front desk, she's been a provider, she's been HR, she's been head of sales, she's been marketing, she's been branding, she's done everything. So she's made herself invaluable in that she can do anything and everything that we ask her to. And there's never any fucking complaining. It's just, I'll figure this the fuck out and I'll get it done. And that's the type of attitude that creates executives. That's the type of attitude that your boss, whoever is leading you, or even if it's you, being that go-to person, we call it the guy or the girl. The person's like, I got to get this done. I know if I ask this person to do it, it'll just be fucking done and it'll be done right. Like, Amanda's that person in Genesis. And that's how you guys can not only be executives and entrepreneurs and make great money in your company and continue to make great money and grow and expand, but even afterwards, if you are a leader and you're doing your own thing and building your own business, it's the same thing. You have to hold yourself to that standard and you have to show up, whether you have a good day or bad day or whatever happens the day before, etc. You fucking show up. And you're somebody who is consistent enough to where everybody knows that they could trust you to get it done, no matter what. Doesn't matter if I ask Amanda to do something, it's gonna fucking get done. Period. And I know it's gonna get done. And I know it's gonna get done really well. And the last thing is being able to take constructive criticism very well, responding very quickly, and never having to repeat ourselves. Like, I maybe corrected you, like, I don't know, a handful of times,
Mhm.
maybe less over the course of 5 years. But immediately, besides you crying, which you were usually crying before I got to you because you thought that was the end of the fucking world,
I
which is good. It
did.
means
I
you're
was
passionate.
so sad
It
that
means you're
day.
passionate about what you're doing. But it's like when you make a mistake, you
Mhm,
own it and you're like, it'll never fucking happen again. And I know
mhm.
it. I know it'll never happen again. I know I don't have to make things, quote, stupid proof for Amanda because she gets it. She has a problem solved, done. And there's always going to be people that can't happen. That's just not going to happen in your business. But those people that do really recognize that and reward that as a business owner, because those types of people are going to be like the needles in the haystacks that you're not going to find, that they're going to be able to do all the above. They're going to be able to show up, be consistent, act at a high level, wear multiple hats, take criticism, and give up what they might have been doing for a little bit to be a part of what you're creating. And that right there is what you're looking for in people. And there's going to be those people in your life, and you have to make sure that you reward them. Period.
No, it's true, and when you're thinking about who you're gonna elevate into your inner circle, it's also, I mean, it's such an interesting thing because I have information that a lot of people, you have to be careful of. And I think as you have a bigger and bigger company, you have to be very mindful of who's in that inner circle. And so taking your time and being really wise in those decisions is super important. And not just because you talked about how great I was for the last 15 minutes, but just in general as a leader, the people that you let close to you, it's you want to be very mindful about who those people are and what is their character, and do they align with your core values, and do they continue to show up. And there have been times where I say we as a company, you have had to fire a few executives, and it was all based on core values. It's the only time we've lost any executives from Genesis. And so, that's such an important part. So if you're listening to this podcast and you're wanting to take on a leadership role or an executive role in your company, make sure you're aligned with the core values and you continue to live those out daily in everything that you're doing, because it is one of the most important things that you can do.
Right. People are going to notice, and your bosses are going to notice whether or not you truly live the core values. And some core values, they have to be taught in our company, like proper way of customer service sometimes, or proper way to speak with a client, you know, pushing people to be better than themselves, having determination. That to a lesser degree can be taught, that determination or grit. But things like integrity is not something that you can really teach. It's something that people live or they don't live, period. And because it stands alone. So our mnemonic for our core values is dig deep and act with integrity. And integrity sits on itself. All the other words, dig and act, they stand for our core values. But integrity sits on its own because it is really the only core value that if you don't have, you'll never be hired. If you break, you'll be fired immediately, no questions asked. And I think that's really important for building a team as well, is that you have to have consistent honesty, consistent transparency, and follow through on, day-to-day behavior.
Mhm.
And I always tell my staff, look, I am not going to be upset about if we fuck something up. I'm not going to be upset about it. As long as you own it and you say, hey, I fucked this up or we fucked this up, not Amanda fucked this up. It's either I or we fucked this up, irrespective of if you fucked it up or not. It's I or we. And in the same breath, this is how we're going to fix it, or this is the direction we're going in to improve it. So you don't have to worry about it, or I need your help fixing it. I'll never be mad at that. I will be mad if you blame somebody else. So that's accountability. Amanda fucked this up. And then you don't have any suggestion for improving it or making it better. And so that's a character. That is a character flaw that sometimes we have to teach people. Hey, we take accountability for our own actions here. We're responsible for what we do, and we're responsible for how we treat everybody, how we treat our teams, how we treat our staff, how we treat, people outside of our business, regardless of rank. It does not matter. Respect gets respect. I've already talked about that before. And that comes from when I was growing up. My parents, so I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't do any drugs, but my parents would always say, hey, if you want to do something like that, go do it. I'll drop you off. Go do it, but I'll pick you up. Like, you're not gonna drive home. You're not gonna sneak around doing it. You want to do it, go do it. You tell us, you won't get in fucking trouble, but I will pick you up and I will drop you off and I'll make sure you're safe. So as long as you're real with me and you're truthful with me, you're not going to get in fucking trouble. Now, I was an athlete, played a ton of sports, didn't really have time to fucking go to parties. I probably never got invited to a lot of parties. So in my head, I repressed that and think I was just cool and had to do sports. So I never got invited anywhere. But that being said, I never did it because it was there and I was allowed to do it whenever I wanted. Not that they were buying it for me, but they knew that my friends did it and I was going to be hanging around them. So they said, if you were going to do that, fucking call us. We will come get you at the end of the night. Don't try and fucking hide it. Mm-hmm. And because of that, because I was allowed to do that, like I never did it. It's the same with these kids that grow up where they have super strict parents that are like, you got a A-, you need to get a A+. And it's funny because I was talking to a young lady at an event, and she went to a very high level school called Wharton Business School, super educated, super high level person. But we talked about like college and what her history was and stuff. And in college, when she got to college, she went crazy, drinking and drugs and partying and stuff like that because she never got that growing up because her parents were so freaking strict about everything. And I'm not saying you should do that to your kids, like go fucking get them high on drugs and let them drink and everything like that. And I'm not saying you should do it to your fucking staff. Don't go get your staff high or drunk. But if you're trying to be a really good parent, letting them know that if you make a mistake and you own it, you're not going to get in trouble as a business owner is going to allow your staff to open up and be relaxed a lot more. And they'll have fear for you, fear of you, because they know like if they really fuck up, they're going to get in trouble with integrity wise. Their job's not going to be there. But again, they also will love you because if they fuck up and it's not illegal or intentionally hurting somebody, there's going to be a conversation of, hey, you can't be doing this.
Yeah. And that's accountability. That's another one of our core values. That's the A in ACT. And people showing that they have accountability or that they're personally responsible for their actions, it really builds trust within the team. And so I have a question for you in the sense that how do you decide, obviously we've talked a lot about my involvement within the company, but how do you decide when somebody has the right amount of integrity or the right amount of the it factor, if you will, that you start letting them make decisions that affect the entire company?
Well, exactly like you were saying, you don't cultivate accountability. You don't show that you have accountability or integrity for a week. And then somebody comes down and says, hey, Amanda, like, what do you think we should do that's going to affect the entire fucking company? You don't. Like, nobody's going to do that. No smart CEO or COO or leader of a company is going to come down and say, hey, what do you think we should do? No business is going to do that. No business is going to allow the person who's been there a week, who's totally green thumb, fucking make decisions. And this is the horror stories that you hear with private equity or venture capitalist companies where they get into these businesses, they buy them, and then 6 months, a year later, they've been driven into the ground because they're the types of people that are like, they've been in a week or 2 weeks or 6 months, and they're like, oh, we know better. We're going to make this decision, this decision, this decision, and they fucking destroy businesses. And it's the same with, again, an employee. When a person is actually key at the executive level, they have shown that they have been key over and over and over and over. You know, Brent and I, we don't have executives. We haven't had executives. We have you and we have Sean. And you've been in the business for 5 years now, almost since the inception, a little bit after that, like 4?
Yeah,
What's
4.
Yeah, 4, right? So you've been around for a while. You know what's going on. You've shown up over and over and over and over and over for fucking years, people. You don't show up and in your first 60 days, you ask for a raise or profit sharing or something like that and expect to get it. You haven't proven fucking shit at all. You haven't. And so the people who are in our executives have either proven it, or like Sean, head of HR, he's proven it being head of HR and ethics for Amazon. And so it's like, when I could get an executive from a behemoth company who is much bigger and better than I am, heck yeah, I'm going to be able to, I want to hire somebody like that, because again, they have that entrepreneurship experience. They've done it for years and years. They have way more expertise and experience than what we had before, which was us doing it. But you're at that executive position now because you did that, and you have that integrity and that character to execute over and over and over at a high level. So now when we have company decisions that are going to affect the branding of the company now, the sales, the way the social media runs in with the marketing and all of that combined, you're in those conversations and you're running those conversations. And now we're partners in the skincare thing, and that's your brand. You're completely designing it. Brent and I are just funding it and along for the ride and providing the sources of, creation of the stuff. But that being said, that's exactly how you get to somebody or become someone who is at the executive level, is that they have made decisions over and over and over and proven that they can be trusted to make decisions and execute those decisions. It's the same story with your spouses out there, guys, where if you have a spouse and let's say you want to do something crazy, you want to spend this much money on this thing or spend this much money on this thing, this mastermind or this event, and you want to go this or there, and they say no, and you're like, well, they don't support me. And you have to think about yourself and your decisions and think, hey, well, have I done anything fucking worth being supportive of? Like, I got haters. People don't support me. Well, you've been a piece of shit your whole life. Guess fucking what? Nobody's going to support you when you're a piece of shit and you've made piece of shit decisions and you're an ex-drug addict and you've gone to jail. Nobody supports me. Yeah, bro. Nobody's going to bet on that because that's been a losing bet over and over and over. And so when you're an employee and you're consistently a winning bet, guess what? The owner is going to notice that and start to bet on you. Same with your spouse. If you have over and over and over a history of winning, a history of staying true to your word, a history of taking care of them and making sure they're secure, or whatever it is in your relationship, they're going to start to trust you when you need to do things. And Steph, she is a part of our big money decisions. And I bring her into it more and more. I try and insulate her as much as I can from things, but she wants to know about it. But she's never said now. She's never said no. She's always said like, hey, are you really sure you should be giving that to your staff or giving it away? Because she's like, she knows I'm the most generous person. And even with people, when people joke that I'm not generous or I make a ton of money, she's the first one to like jump down people's fucking throats now. Because she's like, like, they should not be fucking saying it. I'm like, it's just a joke. Chill, relax. You're like, take your Mexican claws out, please. But that being said, is like, do you have that with your spouse? Have you shown that you have shown up? Have you shown that you could support them? Have you showed that you could provide for them and not had the ups and downs and fuck ups and everything like that they've been exposed to, that they're not sure if your next fucking idea of making $1 million bajillion is gonna, they know based off your past 9 failures doing the same thing that number 10 is not gonna be a fucking winner. So you can't say they don't support me. They're just betting on what you've done in the past, dude. It's called odds betting. So don't take it fucking offense. Look at yourself and say, well, have I really proven that I have a winning hand over and over and over?
Yeah, and for somebody who wants to move up in leadership, asking yourself that question is super valuable. And it's gonna save you the time and energy because if you can't answer yes, then you got work to do before you ask for any sort of promotion. One of the other things that I've done every year, and I started sending to you guys, and I think this is another great tool or tip for those people who are looking to excel into a leadership position is a self-assessment every year. And that's something I've done for myself. And so that's a very personal assessment that I like how am I showing up in the world? And I started doing them based on how I felt I was showing up in my role at Genesis. And it's coming up again in January. So you'll be getting another one
All
from
right,
me. How
good,
am I
good. I'm
doing?
excited. I'm excited.
But really asking myself those tough questions.
Yeah.
If the people in the company were to mimic my behavior, would the company be better off?
Yeah.
And if I can't say yes, then I have work to do. But there were certain things I remember in one of the last ones I sent you that situations that you guys didn't even know about that I was like, here's a question I'm asking myself to get really honest about how I'm showing up. And I'm going to let you guys see into this. And, when I really assessed that, it was yes, except for this time and this time. And here's what I did. And here's what I, learned from it. And here's what I'm doing to improve or grow so that never happens again. And these are things I basically am like telling on myself.
Mhm.
My mom used to say that. She's like, I never had to worry about you sneaking around because you would do something, but you felt so guilty about it.
Mhm.
You would just come tell on yourself.
Yeah.
She's like, so I had a hard time grounding you because it was like you came and told me you did that, which I guess that just was in me from the very beginning. But I think that type of real honest look at, like, just to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, a real honest look at, have you created the value in the company to warrant an executive level position or a promotion or whatever it is that you're asking for? And that takes a level of honesty that I think is a next level of integrity. Because if you got to really be honest with yourself, like, when was I acting out of fear or manipulation or, secretiveness or whatever it is? Like, when was I doing those things? And being honest with yourself, but then also being transparent with somebody else about, times that you haven't hit the mark, I think is, that's next level integrity.
Yeah.
And
No, I think self-assessments and being introspective is extremely important, guys. You need to learn as much as you can where your blind spots are and try and work on them as much as you possibly can to round yourself out as a really good leader. And that's one of the difficult things that I've had to learn over time is, picking apart yourself and making sure that, hey, I got to work on this, this, and this in order to improve myself as a leader so I could be a leader to all different types of people. And self-assessments are really good. I have a funny story. And I think I told you this. Remember this? So Amanda used to be our head of HR, and she wanted to create, we always are creating like different management trainings or sending people to management trainings in order to improve themselves and improve their ability to manage and their essentially what I was just talking about, the blind spots. Do you remember this? Do you remember sending like our executives to this?
yeah.
Oh, yeah. You remember, right? So funny story, right? Thank God we sent like all of our oldest executives to this Star Child event, I will call it. Because it was supposed to be introspective management. You learn about yourself and your things and you work and it turns out it was like 2 days of just a bunch of people complaining about their lives. But then one of the homeworks was like, thank fucking God that the girls that went, like Brent and I know, like personally, and we have known them for years. Because one of the things that they had to do was go home and get completely butt naked in front of the mirror and then like essentially yell at themselves and then build themselves back up about how amazing they were. Yeah, they had to. But either way, it was two men who ran this company. It was sending them to a training where all these women like got butt naked in front of a mirror, not in the same room, but their homework was to like go home and get butt naked in front of a mirror and fucking talk about how awesome they are. And and I was like, Brent and I are like, oh my God, Amanda's going to get us fucking arrested because we sent all these girls to go get fucking butt naked at this fucking event. Like, these people think we're fucking creepy as fuck. And thank God it was like the old, like Sapphire and Kara and people like that were like, they called us and like, I'm not sure you really understood what you sent us to, but let me tell you about what happened today. And it was like, we had to do some, I told Amanda, I was like, what the fuck, Amanda? Like, we sent all these girls to go get fucking butt naked and sing Kumbaya with each other. Holy shit.
Wow. To clarify a little.
Okay. Clarify a little.
That is actually a course I'm still involved in. But
you run it now.
But that particular exercise could be used a different way, and how many of us did that. So the whole point of that exercise was to promote self-love, that you're seeing yourself outside of a sexual being, and that you have gratitude for any imperfections that you may feel that you have. Like, for me, it was a transformational experience because I had a tummy tuck, so I have less, but I still have a lot of stretch marks from when I had my son. And it was something that every time I looked at myself, I just had this feeling of like, like I'm not good enough, or like I'm damaged, or my body is just like, why can't I look like her, or whatever it is. So I just had all of this like negative self-talk around my stretch marks. In particular, I remember that specifically. And when I did it, it was like seeing myself as a being beyond these things on the outside, like these stretch marks, that, I started to have gratitude for the stretch marks. Like, I gave life to a human being, and that's a reflection of that. And so, the exercise in certain people done certain ways can come out to be a good thing. But I totally understood that when it came to, and that course is a lot more personal development. It is very spiritual-esque. It's not like a leadership course. It's definitely not like a Tony Robbins type of thing. And so I think at certain times and places that could be a beneficial course. But in this case, that was a miss.
Yeah, if you guys want to be the executive of a company, get naked in front of your mirror and just yell at yourself. You will win, period.
But it did teach me self-love. And I think the more I learned to love myself, the more I valued the people I was around, and the types of relationships that I thought were aligned with what I wanted in life. So yeah, in this case, that didn't work out so well. But yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember getting yelled at for that one.
I was like,
you're like,
what the fuck, Amanda?
Absolutely not.
You're like, what are you
You're
doing?
like, don't tell anyone else about this.
Not sending
ever.
anyone else to this at all. Thank God it was the older girls, because they understood that we wouldn't do that to them. But like, we're not sending any of the young 18-year-old, 20-year-old girls to go to a naked camp. Talk about their emotions.
There were 35 other things that they learned.
There were. Yeah, I get it. But the naked thing sticks out for sure for them.
Definitely fun. But
yeah,
it was a miss. Definitely made and I think that was something that was, when we talk about, my path to the role I'm in, and how, constructive criticism, like you called and you're like, okay, this is a no. Don't tell anybody else about this. We're not sending anybody else to this. It was you gave me space to share. Like, I shared with you what I just shared, what I got out of it, and why my perception of like why this exercise was going to be okay. Because my personal experience of it was what it was. But at the same time, you were like, it helped me to see like, I should probably take a leadership course or understand more about it if we're going to send people to it. And I think that was a great learning in that situation. As a whole, from the leadership team, it's like really diving in to like a mastermind between the executives. Okay, this is really the exercises. This is what it is. This is what they're going to go through. And is it going to get us the result that we want for our team in the end? And so I think that was, while an interesting way to learn it. That was
Right.
also a really great way for us to see, like, going forward, what are the questions that we should ask and how do we ask them so we know if it is something we want to send people to?
Yeah, I think that's extremely important is that people send people to trainings and they just think they think that, okay, cool, sign up for this training, sign up for this training, I'll send you to them. It's going to make you better. And they go to the training and it's totally different. They're saying a different language than what you believe. They're talking shit about not shit about your core values. But they're talking shit and it's against your core values and stuff
Mhm.
like that. And that's honestly, we have a big company, as you know, Cool Sculpting University is a big university training from Allergan. And we stopped sending people to Cool Sculpting University
Hmm.
because after 3 girls went, all 3 girls, two of them quit or started acting so erratically we had to fire them. And then the third one wanted like the sun, the moon, and the stars and ownership in the company. And it was like, what the fuck are they saying? Well, turns out at this Cool Sculpting University, they were teaching people, well, nobody besides doctors and people with higher degrees should be doing this. And if you're an MA
Mm.
doing this, it's illegal and you shouldn't be doing it. And all the people who would attend, again, all the people like you're the sum of the 5 people you hang around with the most. All the people who would attend, the other RNs from other clinics, NPs from other clinics, all they would do was talk shit about their company, how terrible it was, and how they hated it, and how their boss made them to come to this, etc. And we're sending our people because we want them to learn. Like, that's paid to go. And after the third person we lost to Cool Sculpting University, we fucking banned outside 90% of outside training,
Mhm.
especially from rep companies. Any type of company that is selling us a product or a thing, we banned their training. Our staff is not allowed to go to their training. Not because we want to like keep them to ourselves and not teach them, but because when they go to places like this, they learn dumb fucking things.
Mm.
They learn that, oh, if I do just my job and nothing else, I should get 25% raises every year. And I'm doing illegal things. If I'm doing this and this, it's illegal. Like, these fucking people that are running these things, they have no idea. They're not physicians. They're fucking sales reps. They don't even have fucking degrees
Mm.
in what we're doing. And they're telling our girls what they should or shouldn't be doing. Like, so that's why again, you have to, when you send somebody to training in your company or you send them to something that you want them to learn about, we figure out what the training is going to say. Even better, now what we do a lot more is, and I was taught this, I've read it in 2 books, and I was taught it by another great entrepreneur, Andy Frisella. What the concept is that take somebody else's information that you think is great and put it in your words with your core values, and you teach that. So you're always the expert. And it's not about being high and mighty or any of that shit. But when you have leaders and you're going to cultivate leaders and you send them out and they learn something a little bit different, they might think the execution of that is better than what you're trying to do with your vision. And as a result, it's going to create tension because they're going to say, well, you never liked my ideas. As a CEO, as a COO, you have to have a vision and you have to fucking go for it. And there can't be all this other him and haw and, this and that and this idea, that idea. And sometimes you'll have employees that say, oh, their ideas are all bad, or, I'm going to leave this company or I'm not going to do.
Mm.
And then they go and they do, you see them from afar doing everything that you fucking do.
Mm.
Everything. They copy everything that you do. They have branded scrubs and they brand their clinic exactly the same way. And they're wearing their logo t-shirts like I do fucking everywhere, and their hats and their shit. But no, you're terrible. But they get legit script certified. Like, they do all the things that you did or that we do and have done for years really fucking well. But you know what? When they were with you, oh, it was terrible. That wasn't what you're supposed to do, period.
Mm.
And it's laughable. But at the same time, if you want to train your staff, if you want to send them to training, you better fucking go through that training beforehand so that you know that they're not going to teach your staff something you don't want them to teach.
Mhm.
And there are great training platforms out there that we've sent our staff to that we got no problems with. And there's things like Cool Sculpting University that I refuse to send my fucking staff to anymore because of shit like that.
Yeah, and I mean, now we're building out Genesis University where we've got all of those leadership trainings and courses and outlines. And I mean, that thing is so stacked with training courses. I think I logged in a few days ago to upload some new stuff, and there's 1,200 different training courses that we offer our employees, which is like, they have access to so much incredible information, and growth when it comes to wanting to grow. Kind of circling back to this whole topic of the podcast, is elevating somebody into the inner circle. If somebody in our company really wants to grow, we have definitely given them the resources to be able to do that. And Genesis University is a great place, and a great platform that we've been able to do that through, which is where everything is housed, everything is tracked. We can assign courses to people. So if somebody is interested in leadership, we can assign them a bunch of leadership. They can actually search. And even if we didn't assign it, they can search and they can find their own leadership trainings, but then we can see that they've done it. So it's like they can take initiative for themselves. They don't have to be told this is what you need to do. But if somebody really wants to grow within our company, we're going to notice and we're going to see that kind of thing.
Absolutely. And there's a leaderboard, there's a scoreboard on Genesis University, so everybody can see who's taken the most courses, who's done the most stuff, and who is, striving and going above and beyond to learn. And if you're trying to do it in your business, guys, the Genesis University is called what's called an LMS, Learning Management Software. So if you just Google LMS for, I don't know, medical business, LMS for contracting business, there's tons of different great LMS platforms out there that do all sorts of stuff. They'll help you with onboarding. They'll help you with training. They'll help you with, your baseline HIPAA and OSHA training that we have in the medical field. They'll help you with, again, management training. And they have a whole bunch of already built out, most of these platforms already built out training, but you can always add your own personal training to that as well, which Amanda's done a great job of. And, between Sean, Amanda, Brent and I, we've been adding videos consistently to that, improving it consistently, trying to build out the most robust training platform that we possibly could on that.
Yeah. And speaking of leadership and building out teams, Zappos has done a great job building out leadership teams. And their focus is on emotional intelligence. So I want to unpack what your thoughts are about emotional intelligence as we kind of come to a close in this conversation, and just understand more about how much emotional intelligence plays a factor in somebody's elevation within the company.
All right. So Tony Sai did a great job, and unfortunately he passed away too young. But with Zappos, he did a phenomenal job in that be humble was a huge part of one of his core values. And he always focused on people's egos and seeing whether or not they had an ego, seeing whether they could learn and be open, and humility and being humble was a huge part of that. And everybody has this keyword of emotional intelligence, like buzzword. Emotional intelligence. Do you have emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence usually is not taught as a kid. You're taught like, this is who I am, this is how I should be. And then as you get older, most adults are like, well, this is who I am now. I'm unbending, I'm unyielding. This is not how, I'm not going to change for you or me or nobody. I don't need no man. I don't need no woman. I'm happy single, etc. And that is not the way to be or create a massive company. It's absolutely not. Because if you're going to create a big company, if you're going to create a huge place where people can come and live and work, you're going to have Republicans, and you're going to have liberals, and you're going to have left ring, and you're going to have right ring, and you're going to have middle people, and you're going to have people that have green hair, and all sorts of fucking people. You're going to have that. If you build a big enough business and it's a great enough place to work, you're going to have that, especially in the medical field, because we are eclectic as we can fucking get. And, Tony used to say, it doesn't matter what your core values are. You could put anything you want as your core values. What's important is that you have to fucking commit to them. And with emotional intelligence, that's part of it where you are trying to recognize whether a person can work with everyone else. You're trying to recognize whether that person in again is that guy or that girl that people will go to solve a problem, or you as the business owner, you'll go to have your problem solved. If you're doing those things right, that's you'll start to recognize those people. I'm sure anybody listening, if you run a business, you could think of the one other person that is like, well, if I died, that person would probably do a pretty good job of running this place.
Yeah.
That person is the person who you want to elevate to the executive level. And again, emotional intelligence is teaching your staff how to, let's say, solve a problem. It's not blaming each other. It's you and your staff member against the problem. Conflict between two employees. It's not you against her. It's you two against the conflict, which is this third party issue. It's always externalizing what the issue is. That's what I feel like is really important in emotional intelligence and being
Mhm.
able to scale and grow that part of your business out.
Yeah, I love that. That's so good. Like reminding that we're on the same team here. We're fighting against the issue and not each other. That's that's really awesome. I love that. You've shared some really incredible insights on this podcast and some really incredible things about me, which is really great. Uh,
Great. It's already going to your head. It's been less than a fucking hour.
if there's one piece of advice that you can give leaders into promoting from within, what would that be?
I would say always choose a person's character over their skills. Like skills, yes, they pay the bills, but skills can be taught. Skills can be taught, skills can be developed, but character, integrity, loyalty, ability to handle people well, like that is what makes somebody a leader. So hire based off that, promote based off that, promote the guy or the girl in your company, and you're going to win over and over and over, way more than you lose.